Hey y'all, I'm back with Small Business Saturday, and I'm super excited to be sharing some of my favorite inks with y'all. These are close to my heart inks. They're dye inks, and I'm going to do a little bit of color swatching for y'all so y'all can see the ones that I do have. I'm supporting Beth Ann Black, who is a consultant for Close to My Heart, so I'll link everything down below to her shop so you can go and support her. I have some paper that I have some scratch paper actually that I'm going to stamp off on because to give it a fair shot, I think I need to stamp like I normally would, which means I stamp and then just kind of test it on test it on some paper, and then I'll actually stamp it on my roll paper here. So I have some Nina Solar White cardstock. I believe this is 80 pound. And then I also just have some like copy paper that's a little bit heavier weight. I'm going to be sharing this stamp set, which it's actually older. It's from Ali Edwards. From several years ago. I'm going to use this stamp that says meaningful. So there's quite a bit of coverage required for this particular stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and stack these up, but I'm also going to share a couple of things that I love about these inks. So before I stack them up, just let me quickly tell you, I love that they are magnetic. So they store really nicely. I love the sleek design. I love how so this is magnetic as well, so the top doesn't easily come off. And I think as far as I know, I mean, I store mine like this for now. It's probably better to store them laying down this way just because of so that the ink is even, I guess, and it's not moving around to one side. So I'm not really sure if that's messed up my ink at all by storing them like this. Eventually I probably will store them more like this where I can see the colors from the outside, but I store them like this for now just because of the system that I have. I want to be able to see the colors from above, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and stack these up, and then I'm going to color swatch these and share these inks with you guys. Again, they're dye inks. I don't have any of the pigment inks. I'm not a big fan of pigment ink in like the scrapbooking world just because it does take a little bit longer to dry. I think the only pigment ink that I have is, I don't want to say the only one I have, but one of the only ones I use is Versafine pigment ink just because that's like one of my favorite black inks. But I do have some neutral tones here. I have one in Pebble that's kind of like a little bit of a warm gray, then Linen, which is an off-white, toffee, and then intense black. Those are basically my only neutral colors that I have from Close to My Heart. So I am going to stack these up. I'm going to get started with the swatching. I'm going to start with the reds and the yellows, and then we'll move on to the green. So I have my paper here, and then I have my stamp off paper, and I'm going to start with Candy Apple. I do love the way that this stamps. I've used Candy Apple before. Not even a big, I don't scrapbook a lot with red, but this is a really pretty color. So to be fair, again, I'm going to stamp off, although that one turned out pretty nice. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it right on the paper. And you'll see the nice, full, crisp coverage that you get. I'm just going to do this quickly, I'm going to use a wipe like an alcohol wipe to get the ink off, especially because it's red and it will stain. I'm going to close that up, set it aside, I'm going to move on to the next one. And then for the next few, I'll probably speed it up just a little bit, just because at this point you kind of understand why I'm sharing the inks, but also I don't know that I need to talk through everyone. I will leave the colors in order down below. I do want to mention that you probably don't have to be as anal as I am about pressing the stamp into the ink multiple times. I think it's just kind of a habit for me at this point, but also I noticed on some of them that the ink kept beating up, and it probably was, and what I mean by that is it's not getting good coverage, like it kind of wells up a little bit. And so some ways to fix that, from what I've heard, which I didn't do that in this video, I kind of more just ran my hand over it if I felt like it was beating up a little bit too much. But some ways to fix that would be like using an eraser to prep your stamp, especially if it's brand new, and then it could rubbing the eraser over your stamp basically gives like a little bit of roughness to the stamp in some ways, and so it picks up the ink a little bit better. I There was something else I wanted to mention. I do miss a green ink. It's kind of more of a minty green, and so I will go back and stamp that at a later time. You'll see me grab it and then stamp it kind of in between the greens. So just keep that in mind. I believe there's only one ink that I use that is discontinued, and so I'll leave the one that is most similar in the shop down below. And that is pretty much it. I'm going to leave y'all with some music and just some stamping, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Let me know if you want to see more videos about stuff that I have in my stash, things that I enjoy using. I can certainly post videos. I think coming up, I would love to share like top 10 tools and top 10 things that I like to use in my stash. So that should be probably coming up sometime next week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.